but whatever. Okay, hello.
Mark, I'm going to ask you the obvious questions about your work and about Dido, because they are the questions, there's a reason they're obvious. They're the ones that I think the audience would like to hear the answers to. So, what makes a piece of music good to dance to? I'm leading up to Dido and Aeneas.
Okay. This feels a little too hot for me, the microphone. It needs to be down a little bit.
Such a fuss budget.
I'm in show business. Remember, you're not, I am. Anyway, because then I can answer the question. If I'm not comfortable, I can't yet. Let's see, music. Well, here's the thing. Usually, the guaranteed not to, that's better. Guaranteed not to be good music for dancing is music that's written specifically to be danced to. That's very often doesn't work. It very often doesn't. I mean, there are exceptions, Tchaikovsky, Stravinsky, but then there's...
What about Bernstein? I mean, all right, so...
No,
Gershwin, I mean...
It wasn't a lot, but it wasn't necessarily written to have a dance made to it. It's written to dance to. You know, like popular music that is meant to dance to, you can't resist dancing to it. But theater dances, maybe, I don't know what they're called, art dances or something, dances that you go to see in a theater. For me, very often, I choose music, legitimate, serious music, because of its greatness, meaning it's fine, it's excellence. So, people are surprised. I went to a rehearsal once with musicians to somewhere on the road to do Dido and Aeneas, and they hadn't prepared the recitative because they couldn't imagine that anybody would dance to that. But it's like, but that's the story. It's like people, I get these samplers and anthologies and sort of, I don't know what you call that, variety packs from Boozy and Hawkes or from, Nonesuch or from these organizations who are trying to promote their composers who have written music for dance. And so they send, of course, I'm a choreographer, and so they send me this music. It's like, usually one after another, these pieces just put me right to sleep. That they're written, it's like when Philip Glass, who's a wonderful composer, when his music first started appealing to choreographers in his earliest music, and earliest music that we heard from the 70s, it was thrilling and everybody had to do it.
Sure, Steve Reich.
And it became easy. Yeah, they're very different composers, but that idea, and he's been supplanted by Arvo Pärt, of course. But where somehow this sort of, and I'm defending their compositions. I'm saying that that doesn't suit me for dancing, but it suits everybody else. So because you can impose your own time, your own idea of time divisions on this music, you can observe how it's written or not, or you can just use it as a field to make a dance in front of. I don't work that way. So the music, the first piece I choreographed for the San Francisco Ballet was to the Ghost Trio, Beethoven, the famous, very famous, gorgeous piano trio of Beethoven. It's like, why on earth would one dance to that? For the same reason that one would listen to that, because it's so rich and so engaging and so exciting, and it has everything you need. It doesn't need a dance to it. And that's part of it. If you feel, it's like music -1, and you supply the solo voice by dancing to it, that doesn't work for me. Like this restaurant we were just at, what was that, The Study? Is that what that called? Which was wonderful, and we had little snacks. They gave us snacks for free. But they were playing this music that is that thing of these sort of chords. It's sort of trancey, sort of electronica, and it's chords, and you're just like, okay, here it comes, and nothing comes. Like, nothing happens. It's vamping till ready, as we used to say, and that doesn't happen. So, sometimes I'll make up a dance to a piece of music that is not a great piece of music because it evokes a particular sort of tone or a situation that makes a particular dance happen. But usually, that's unusual for me. Jean Francais is an example, something like that. But really, it has to have the easy answer that I should have gone to right away is it has to have rhythmic vitality, it has to have surprises, It has to be interesting for more than one listening, like 1,000 listenings would help.
Yes.
And it has to be structurally sound and rigorous so that a dance can not complete it nor compete with it, but drop right into it, and all of the elements, music, dance, the visual aspect, and the oral aspect are complete and inevitable. So you don't wish you didn't have something and you wish you had something else. I think that's what it is.
You've used a great range of music, lots of different kinds of music, but you've shown a very marked fondness for Baroque music and for vocal music. Could we just take those one by one? Because we're going to see them shortly on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, right.
So that's why I brought them up.
There's one thing that before we launch into the Baroque thing,
Yeah.
is that in talking with, perhaps you've heard of him, Maestro James Levine, genius. I share, well, not entirely share, but I have had the big conversation with him where I'm not really wild about 19th century music in general, especially program music,
Yes.
especially, Heldenleben or something like that, where you go on a trip with the orchestra, and and now you're, Symphonie Fantastique, something like that, where it's like, and now you're, what's that other great one that Disney did so well? The Sorcerer's Apprentice, not 19th century, but the same idea of like this story, there's nothing else you can do. And a lot of 19th century ballet music is like that. Sylvia, the Tchaikovsky ballets, the Delibes ballets. That's not my favorite thing. My favorite thing is the Baroque, is basically the 18th century and the 20th century. In between, I'm less interested in choreographing it. I like the music a lot. I love Brahms, but it's not what I do. It's like there's already so much there that, enough already. You would think that in Baroque music, it tells you everything to think and feel, but it doesn't, because it's formal enough and abstract enough. Horrible use of the word abstract, but it's open enough where you can do kind of what you want. And the same thing is true with a lot of 20th century music, like specifically West Coast composers who I like a lot. But with Baroque music and vocal music, where they intersect, to me that's also, vocal singing and dancing to me are very much related, because there's no equipment. It's just you doing these moves or making these sounds. So that, to me, it's already the dancer and the singer stand alone, even in groups of people. That's all.
Because it's physical.
Yeah.
Because the voice is coming out of the
There's
body.
nothing to hide behind. There's no euphonium to hide behind.
So am I wrong in attaching the idea of poignance to that? Okay. I thought I wasn't wrong.
No, you aren't wrong. You're right.
As usual. Well, in any case, on Thursday in Dido, you'll see both of those things, and in small forces, which makes it more exposed. Dido is my favorite Mark Morris piece. I won't be here on Thursday night, but I envy you. And I particularly envy anyone who's seeing it for the first time.
Wait a minute, that's your favorite dance? Your favorite piece? Really? It's its 20th year, you know that?
Yeah, I've seen it a lot of times.
Wow, that's great. I'm glad. I wasn't sure about that. It's nice to hear.
Actually, when you get into that league and into a very high league with such a large corpus of work, you're sort of talking about the lily and the rose. You don't. Actually, for in a way, for certain things, but I would say, and I'm sure the audience will understand what I mean, and I'm sure you will too. If I said something is closest to my heart, that's different from my favorite or the best. I didn't say the best.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. But the one I'll remember on my deathbed. How about that?
You won't remember a thing. I'll remind you. No, but that's the thing. my favorite dances of mine, or the dances that are closest to my heart, change all the time. To me, it's not just
Yes.
the one everybody always says like the piece I'm working on now is the one.
Yes,
or
yes,
blah
that
blah
big
blah.
liars.
It's also the lie about loving all your children
Yeah,
equally.
yeah,
please.
yeah. Nonsense.
It's like you're special.
Yeah.
You're fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Go get the cigarettes out of mommy's purse.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you play the accordion. Yeah.
What was it in? I know that you worked on Dido for many years. Is there a non-important reason for that? Is that just because you were interrupted all the time? What was it about Dido and Aeneas? Dido and Aeneas was Purcell's. It was written by Purcell, 1689. It's considered the first English opera. Huh? It's quite short. How long?
And it's kind of the last one until Britain, I'm sorry to tell you.
They
It was
talk
a big
about
sorry.
it a lot because
They forgot to
there's a
write
little
operas.
problem about English opera. Yeah,
English opera was Handel, and Italian opera. That was the problem.
Yeah, what was it about Dido that snagged you?
Something just got better.
It's the lights went out.
Oh, great. Okay, let's just. No,
Ah!
Okay. It's like at the end of the drive-in movie when all the cars start up at the same time. Well, I didn't work on it for years, did I?
I thought you did, but you know
I
better.
was just thinking about it for a long time. What do you want me to answer about?
Well, if you worked on it for years, that could mean a number of different things. It could be that you got interrupted. It could be that you didn't know quite what to do with it. I know that you changed your mind. Now I'm gonna bring up the fact that you originally thought you were gonna dance all the moves yourself.
Right. My first idea, it's a very dramatic and sad and kind of dumb story now. But I have to tell you, and whenever this was, 1980 something, 9?
89 is the date of the production.
Yeah, okay. This was long ago, and you may not remember it personally, what was happening at that time. But I had a lot of friends who were dead and dying of AIDS. And to me, I just assumed because I'm selfish that I was next. And I wasn't sick, and not that that matters, but I thought, everybody's dying. And before I die, let me make up this dance about love and sex and death. Like, all good dances, all good art is basically about those things. So I thought, and it was a little, looking back on it, it was a little histrionic, literally. And I thought, let me make up my last dance. I thought it was my last dance, and this was 20 years ago, so it evidently is not. But I thought, let me do this deep, fabulous, beautiful, rich, terrifying score as a solo. And I thought, I actually, believe it or not, I was approaching it sort of humbly and sort of from a Buddhist perspective as much as I could at the time. And I was also scared to death, and I thought, let this be something, my letter to the world. So I was going to do Dido and Aeneas. It could have been good, but I was going to do it as a solo performance. And I was going to do it with, full orchestra and chorus and solo singers and just sad me. And then I decided it wouldn't really work that well. I'm thinking, like, how do you do the sex scene? And when you turn around, like when you show your hands backwards, like you're making out with yourself, which is good practice. I was actually going to do that, and I was thinking about doing this dance. It's like, well, maybe I need another couple of people. And so, I added a dozen people, as it turned out. And it was really going to be a solitary excursion and a real sort of tour de force, a real tragedy. So I just decided that was a little bit, there were too many violins involved. I decided to make it a little more stoic. It was a little bit boo-hoo. And so I staged this, I made up this dance, and we worked for months. I made this up in Brussels when my company was what was it called? The Monet Dance Group, Mark Morris, at the Théâtre Royal de la Monnaie in Brussels. And the wonderful thing was I had all of the things I wanted: a studio, musicians, theater, budget, costume. It was health insurance. It was wonderful. And so I started making up this dance, and I decided to do it really as a sort of a funerary urn. So I made up the court dances of Dido and where she meets Aeneas, are very, very formal in what people, you always use that ghastly term, like it's, a vase come to life, or it's like a frieze, it's like, so it's sort of flat.
Afternoon of a fawn.
Yeah, it's like, okay, fine, we all know what that is, and it's really just so you can see every angle of everything. That's why you do that. So I made up these very formal dances, and then I made up chaos dances for the sorceress, her nemesis, and did the story much more big and much more dramatically than I thought I was going to do it. And I choreographed it from the background forward. So the first thing I set choreographically was the hardworking and underappreciated often core, the people who are the courtier and conscience and the witches and the sailors, just like the chorus of singers are. So I choreographed all of that first to establish the situation. Then I choreographed the soloists, and then I choreographed the principal parts. And I kept the parts of Dido and the sorceress for myself because I thought, why not? I'm a fabulous dancer, and this could be a really good and interesting thing. And I'd already given up the idea of a solo, so I had to keep something. And so I made this dance. Actually, I set the parts. I choreographed Dido on Ruth Davidson, who was in my company, and I set the sorceress on John Menzinger, who was in my company. So I choreographed it on other people and then learned it. Because the worst thing you can do, like singing in the shower when you sound so fabulous, is thinking that what you're doing as a dancer through improvising is interesting or important. So, dancing around at home, you feel great, but you don't necessarily want to watch all of that. So I could edit it and then learn it instead of, going too far. So the dance became a piece for, is it 12 people? Or is it 13? Yeah, something like that. 12, yeah, I don't know, a dozen people. And it was set and established and premiered in Brussels in '89, and we've been doing it off and on for the last 20 years. I gave up performing it a few years ago when I just couldn't because it was ridiculous. And we brought it back for the 25th anniversary of my company with 2 dancers sharing the lead part. So somebody was Dido, another person was the sorceress, which to me didn't really hold. The integrity was lost in a certain way, and it was wonderful and they were great. But since then, I have 2 people who do the piece all the way through now. So a man and a woman.
Amber Darrow will be the sorceress and Dido, and then Brady McDonald will be the
sorceress. Actually, here only Brady McDonald is because Amber's about
10 months pregnant.
Yeah, like 11 months pregnant. Yeah, she's very pregnant, and that would be great, but it's tiring.
Anyone who knows, anyone who's coming to this performance and doesn't know the story of Dido and Aeneas, I would suggest that you either get to the show early, so usually the Mark Morris Dance Group's program notes are pretty full in terms of...
Well, there's my very concise synopsis, but then there's also the libretto is usually in there.
Okay, or just Google Dido. This is one thing that's quite very striking about Dido and Aeneas is that it's such a compact tragedy. It's from Act 4 of the Aeneid, but what's so, without going too deeply into it, it's about the individual versus the world's needs, as opposed to one little individual's needs. Aeneas, who's a Trojan prince, has to go and establish Rome, whose destiny is to rule the world. And on the way, he stops off in Carthage and meets the queen and has a love affair. So think of AIDS when you think of this. This is a brief love. And she knows better, as we know from the very beginning of the dance. Mm-hmm. She says, I know better than to do this. I must not do this. And her courtiers all say, oh, go ahead. He's handsome.
She's a widow.
She's a widow.
A young widow.
And she has her own country to rule, mm-hmm. Her own kingdom to rule, Carthage. And she's a responsible person. But everyone says, come on, have a good time. And anyway, she's sacrificed quite swiftly. And there's a wonderful scene in the ballet of the sailors. The corps mm-hmm. has 3 embodiments. They're the courtiers, the witches' coven, which is not in the Aeneid, but the sailors. And the sailors, in a way, personify just the world's necessities. Not evil, not good, just the world, which is let's get going.
Right.
And kiss your girlfriends goodbye and tell them you'll return and ha ha ha, we know
Right.
you won't. But the world has its necessities. Anyway, that, if you want to think of...
Oh, everybody's checking their phones now. I don't mind anymore. I've given up on that.
I just said that the ensemble has, three identities. Do you think that that all that adds up to humanity, a humanity, and that to I'm going to try and prove my point for a second. The set there's a beautiful backdrop. The set by Robert Bordeaux has a beautiful backdrop, which is the sea. Is it the Aegean or
It's a map.
all right,
pretty
it's
much.
a map.
Yeah,
and there's a
pretty much
floor
is.
cloth which repeats it or extends it. Is it being suggested to us that this is about the world? That it's, or do all sort of ambitious classical works suggest that?
Oh my God, what a question.
Sorry,
Wow.
you can say.
I don't have much book learning, Joan, but I'll tell you. Well, here's the thing. Here's where it is. It's in Carthage.
Yeah.
And over yonder is Rome. That's what it is. Rome, whenever
That's
you
where
see...
he's got to go.
Yeah, whenever you see anybody go like this, they're looking into the future, into Rome.
That's why he has to leave her.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's meant to be a sort of slightly mysterious map of ocean and islands and, stuff, a balustrade, I don't know. It's home and it's across the way it's there. That's why it's all ocean.
When there's
There's a great thing the next chapter starts with Aeneas sailing away and it's hard to get this in the dance, but it's implied that, of course, she has her sister Belinda not her sister, what's her name in the book? Yeah, Anna. But it's Belinda in the Purcell, and she collects all of her stuff and makes a fire to burn his belongings, and her sister doesn't realize that she's going to kill herself. So she steps into it. It's like, oh, shit. Why didn't I see this coming? So she's burning. And then the next book opens with him having sailed away and looking back to the shore. And there's a column of smoke, which is her. It's like, oh, fuck. I didn't mean that. I just, I really liked her, but I couldn't stay. And the thing is, of course, it's actually the gods who make him go away. And in the Purcell, it's a more complicated kind of crazy show business thing with someone impersonating Mercury,
Yes.
who's a personification of the sorceress, etc. But it's the same idea. It's like, oh no, what do you do now?
Yeah. But, very often in our literature and in our ballets, there are agents who are sent to give us an excuse for the bad things that we do. But I think underneath, it's supposed to be in Swan Lake, Odile comes to fool Siegfried and make him betray Odette. But I think we're supposed to understand that he made the mistake. He did it.
Jerk. Man, yuck.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Could you talk about something that I think the audience will be very interested in, which is the extremely complicated and rich use of hand gestures in Dido?
Sure.
There are an awful lot of very complicated and emphatic hand gestures. Where did they come from, and what were you up to?
It's mostly that they're specific and they're strange because they're
That's right.
They're
very
extreme. They're
yeah.
extreme.
It's not like this or like this.
Well, it's not the Barbie hand that most dancers put on the end of their arms. It's like, oh, great. how do you open a bottle with that? I don't know. No, if it's Merce, you can only open a bottle with it. Okay, let's see. I was very, well, first of all, I'm a very, very big fan of South Indian dance, specifically, well, Indian dance, South Indian music. I'm a big, big fan, an amateur of Indonesian dance and music. What's the matter? What do you need?
I didn't bring a clock. I have no idea what time it is.
Oh, someone will start yawning. Oh, look, there's one there. Okay. I haven't even started my answer. My God. Okay.
I'm sorry, I just realized.
It's like, okay, that's about. All right, no, sorry. I don't. Okay, here's what happened. I was very. I meant this. This dance is. From the very minute we started rehearsing it, I taught only modern dance class to my company, and I usually teach a ballet class to my company. We rehearsed only in sarong, these Indonesian garments, and it's so. I don't know if I'd been there recently. I don't think I had. It's just something I liked very much. So I'd been watching a lot of Indonesian dance, Indian dance that I love so much that I can't learn it because it's so over my head, and I'm a big, big fan. So I wanted to communicate that I wanted this dance to be set somewhere that wasn't Brussels, for one thing. So it wasn't exactly Indonesia, it wasn't exactly Carthage, the story is, it's in English, etc. So I choreographed the whole thing with everyone wearing sarong, and they still are, the costumes are sarong. And I wanted to have this very low slung posture and, hip, these sort of angles that are achieved only through dances from the tropics. I have a whole theory, we'll talk about this in the car. But the cold weather dances and hot weather dances are very different automatically. You don't jump as much in Hawaii as you do in the Basque country or something like that. So, and also the storytelling tradition in South Asian and Southeast Asian theater is very personal and direct, like ballet used to be, or like opera used to be in smaller theaters, where it's like, everybody listen to this, watch this story I'm going to tell you, and you understand it. Even if you don't understand it, you get it because it's directed at you, as opposed to folk dancing or group dances, the parties, the big jotas of Spain where everybody's jumping up and down like crazy that have no stories except in the songs, or the things from Samoa or Tahiti that have nothing but a story. Like, that's the only reason they exist. And then it's great rhythm and it's great music. But I wanted to get the story across, because it's a very concise piece. Everybody knows the music. I didn't want to bring a chorus of singers on for 8 bars and then they exit. That's just comical and it doesn't work. So I made everyone tell all of the story. So I was in love with American Sign Language at the time. I'd broken my foot and studied ASL and wasn't ever very good at it, but I like it so much. It's such a gorgeous language that can't really translate directly to what I speak, just like every other language can't translate, just like dance can't translate directly. So it's a combo. The gestures are exactly, much to some people's dismay, exactly what the text is doing. We say all of the words in the dance. It's a combo of very direct American Sign Language quotations and paraphrases and adaptations, and also just stuff I made up because it looked cool.
Good, yeah.
So the difference, the Daido dancing, the court dances, are very flat and very direct and pointing to the front and very clearly etched mudra, hand gestures, that are related to the exact words that they would be if you understood Sanskrit or Tamil and you're watching these Indian dances. So I wanted that, but it's also in English. There's a lot of English mixed in. Then the sorceress dances are the same idea. It's still gesturally very specific, but it's chaos, and it's the opposite. It's the evil antithesis of the court of Dido, who's basically good yet sad. So Dido's good and sad, and the sorceress is evil and happy. And they communicate through gesture and through full body language and through posture, and of course, because it's in a theater, through space relationships between, in depth and facings and all of that usual dance stuff.
Yeah.
Does that answer that kind of?
Yes, but I want to extend this a little
Okay.
bit. I want to say, I'm sure it's completely obvious to all of you, but just in case, not every word is translated. Okay, no, Mark, there's not enough
In the dance.
time. Not every word is translated from the singing. More.
Mostly, though.
Oh, I didn't. Then,
okay.
then it wasn't obvious to me. I'm
Oh,
the only
okay.
one to whom this
All right.
wasn't obvious. But it seems to me that a great deal.
No, there's a few just get down with your bad self and dance. There's a few of
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
All right. Now,
But I think those are all instrumental.
all right. But I
don't
want to.
know.
I want to introduce the
Oh,
audience
okay.
to a few of these gestures.
Okay, sure.
So that they can recognize
Okay.
them. Some of them are actually figurative, rather than symbolic. So, and you're going to come. All right. Yeah.
Put them up, Joan.
The,
No, okay.
All right,
What's that?
and I'm going to pick up to part.
Oh, part is this.
Suit. No, what about the one that's like?
It's always like this. I know. I made it up.
No, I
Oh,
know
okay.
it's. I'll take your word for it.
Okay. This is mine. This is possessive.
Mine. All right,
Yeah.
but isn't there one that's mine?
Part is this, which would be see D. That would be divorce. In American Sign Language, is two D's
All right.
that you pull apart. Divorce.
Oh, all right.
Divorce.
Okay.
But it didn't look so good.
Yeah.
So I changed it from a D to this, which is more.
But is it? Does
It goes like this. So part goes like this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's
But
right. The move goes like that, and it's part.
All right, it didn't.
But it's just it's not divorce because it's not a P because it didn't look pretty.
All right.
So
All right.
Here.
So this is what I want to point out that it didn't look pretty. So in other words, they're adapted.
Yeah.
He took what he liked and he made it into a dance. So
Here's a really good example. The ASL, correct me if I'm wrong, which is learn, which is basically this.
Oh.
So learn.
Oh, I love that one. Yes.
Learn. I use it as remember. So in the lament, she says, "Remember me,"
Yeah.
or "Learn from my experience." So I do this, which is the word "learn," but it's of course expanded into a dancing thing.
Remember me, but
Remember me.
but
Forget
forget.
my fate.
And all right, could you do fate again? Because it's my favorite. Okay.
But it's this action. It's not the position. That's the thing.
Okay.
It does that.
Now I love fate because it's
This is good. I want to copy this tape. That's what I. Okay, sorry.
right?
No, it's good. Yeah, it's
I
true.
like fate because this one is not figurative.
We have to turn your hands completely inside out. That's why it takes a trained professional to do
All
that.
right.
Yeah. No, it's hard.
I am not a dancer by profession.
Right, my fate.
Fate. All right, but look at this, or you do it, and I'm going to
What am I gonna
discuss
do?
it. Do fate, and I'm going to discuss it. Hold it.
As you will
Okay.
see. Yeah, sorry,
All
go
right.
ahead.
So it's pointing to heaven, so that means something. It's very strong and shouldery, so it's obviously powerful. And it's spidery, so it's a little sinister. So that's
Wow.
fate. It's
Fate, yeah.
fate. But
also, here's the thing. The word awe, A-H,
Yeah.
which comes up all the time, is just this.
that's
But
good,
that's it.
isn't it? Isn't that
Belinda.
good? Yeah.
Belinda,
Okay.
help me.
All
Forget my fate. But I just gave away the whole dance. You don't even have to see it.
No, you have
There's
to see
lots
it.
more.
But
There's
I
lots
want
more.
them.
Yeah.
I read my book today, and that fate I think comes up 17 times in different situations and in different, not too many different shapes. Actually, not the fate one, too many, but different situations. And it's really.
There's a really good thing that happens that never gets mentioned, which is there's a part in this wonderful, horrifying chorus of the witches celebrating the impending doom of Dido. They sing, "Destruction's our delight, delight our greatest sorrow. Alyssa dies tonight, and Carthage flames tomorrow." That's so fabulous,
Yeah.
these couplets. It's so great. And what happens is it's a dance of glee. And in part of it, the dancers improvisationally, because they're the witches and they can't be held to the rules of the court, they're loose cannons. And so everyone, and this is quite improvised, it's rhythmically very accurate, and the structure is set, but everybody gets to do their own thing, which is they commit suicide. So everybody applauds, hooray, we love this. Alyssa dies tonight, and everyone kills themselves. And so they do it however they can. They just have a few bars and it's really fast. So people are like taking pills and slashing their wrists and shooting themselves.
There's a
like
hard-
whatever
sure.
you want.
Yeah.
However you want. You hang yourself, whatever you can get in. And then people explode. You know, it's like this horrible.
And they go like this.
It's like, hooray, she's going to kill herself.
yeah.
What's better than that?
Yeah, yeah.
We won.
Yeah.
So, but that's super specific, mimey kind of stuff, but it's also fully improvised.
Yeah, great. The it's and there's some sex stuff that's improvised too, isn't there? It's vile. The utter lowness of what goes on in the witch's den makes the extreme dignity of Dido's lament, which is the last song, utterly piercing and almost chastising. You listen to it and you think, "Oh, I'll never be bad again as long as I."
Well, in my view of this, Dido is distressed to leave her sister Belinda behind. So wait, that sounds like that bad Greek joke, but I'm not going to tell that. But she says, "But forget my fate." She's talking to her sister. It's like, "I'm sorry, I have to kill myself." She doesn't say, "I have to kill myself," but she says, "You know, just wait here. Everything will be fine." Then she kills herself. So it becomes, in my staging, it's a duet. The Dido's Lament, which is, of course, the most famous solo in this repertory of this period. So it's done as a duet, and she summons the help of her court and her friends. Remember me.
Yeah, I hope I'm.
When did you last see Dido?
In
just
when you changed the cast.
Oh, okay, all right.
I hope I'm not ruining the story for anyone. I assume that most of you know the story of Dido.
No, it's not like the crying game.
Yeah,
It's like, oh shit, that was a
that was
man?
the guy.
I never saw the movie, but I told everybody I could. It's like, I heard it's a man.
Dido's death scene is really immensely striking thing. She sings this lament, this famous, and this song was used. It was a parlor song for many. Wasn't it in the 19th century? Wasn't this a famous parlor song? People,
Did people sing it at home?
Yes.
They were so grim.
What I was told was that
really? I didn't know
in
that.
the 19th and early 20th century, when people, did what they did to on social evenings, which is you went to the people's house and you had dinner, and then the lady of the house played the piano. That was one of the songs that was sung, like "The Last Rose of Summer" and stuff like that.
I don't doubt it.
But in any case, that song is sung, and then Dido goes to the back. What I'm trying to ask you is this, and this is a question about stagecraft almost more than art. But Dido dies while the chorus is singing a chorus about love.
They're singing, "With drooping wings, ye cupids come, and
Okay.
scatter roses on her tomb."
Okay, and it's a kind of mild, a tender, sad song with none of the power of the lament. But while this happens, Dido dies at the back, and you never see it happen. No one has ever.
No one's ever seen it happen. It's like Santa Claus.
No one has ever seen it happen. It's like Santa Claus.
Except it exists.
I know people who've tried to see it happen.
Yeah, no, you can't.
And no one
It's
has-
magic.
So, but actually, all of you should not try. Anyone who's seeing
Thanks, Joan.
for the first time, don't try, because there's a lot. Now,
It's
how
the
did
miracle of show business. It's called misdirection. It's like magic.
you make sure that their attention is focused on something else, and then you just die back there. Okay.
That's right.
All
Like
right.
when you get a tetanus shot.
Okay. All right. Now, something you said, she addresses it to Belinda, and she asks Belinda to remember her. In the end, Belinda does stay with her. And I asked Mark about the world, and in a very mysterious, really almost hallucinatory moment at the end. The entire corps, one by one, walk into the world. They walk through a slit
Go to Rome.
in the psyche. What?
They have to go to
That's
Rome.
right. All right. So maybe
They're future Romans.
They're all right. So maybe they are cahooting with Aeneas. You know that. All right. But they walk into the world.
Let's say they leave the stage. Like that fabulous dance. Do you know that fabulous old Robert Joffrey dance called Astarte?
I never saw it.
Oh my
I saw a
God.
movie
Did
of
anybody
it.
see that? It was the greatest. It was so radical and fabulous. But that dance ends, well, it starts with this sexy siren on stage, Astarte.
Lucette.
Yeah, but then this guy who's planted in the audience in that fabulous sort of 60s,
pulls off the
70s fashion, like, he comes out of the audience like, what are you doing? And then he's accidentally ready to dance, like he warmed up in advance, and he does this sexy, gorgeous dance. And then they leave, and it turned into, at the time, radical film of the like, stage door, and they're going out of City Center or whatever to whatever they're going to do. It's the most brilliant thing. It was a terrible dance, but it was this incredible idea, and there's a little bit of that. But you're explaining way more than I would explain. That's all. That's your job.
I have a different job from.
I know we have very different jobs. It's like, wow, that happens too. I get a little bit of that. I don't. You asked me a long time about the world. It's like, well, sure, but everything's about the world. That's all we've got.
When I say these things of walking into the world,
Yeah.
these actually I would never, and not just out of humility or whatever, I would never probably say that in print. What I'm saying is that there's a suggestion. When a dancer walks through a slit in a psyche that is the ocean, there's a suggestion being made.
Absolutely.
And that you ignore, if you ignore it, you're being stupid. Or you're willfully being stupid if you don't pick up on it somehow. Dance is never telling you anything explicitly, a dance. Well, most dance, unless it's like the swan dies on that goes flop and then she's dead. Yes, she's dead. But
I don't know. This is, what is that? Oh, that's the door squeaking. Yeah. First of all, I view this piece as an opera. And it's a danced opera, but it's still an opera, meaning it's everything you can do all at one time in one place. So one thing that I like about that's a nutty, what's that squeaky thing? Anybody? Gone. Okay. All right. The thing is that when I first did this piece in Brussels, it was on a raised stage in the middle of nothing, and it was a raised stage with ramps coming up the sides. And the film of it, you can buy it on DVD, and it's a pretty good version, but it's not exactly the same. It's the same idea. It's like an island. The floor is here, and the dance, as I like it, when we didn't do it in a proscenium theater, nobody could leave the room. The dancers could not leave. You sat like this on the side when you weren't performing. It was you couldn't have a drink of water. That was the whole thing. It was a ceremony that lasted 58 to 62 minutes, depending on the night. So it was like, once it starts the overture, it's a ceremony of, here's the enactment of this tale. Watch and listen, and don't let this happen to you. And it's not like, we can do this and you can't. It's like, sit down and do this, which is a very, to me, South Asian, Southeast Asian point of view of how to perform. It's like, here we go, and the character transforms from the Dido into the sorceress just by letting her hair down and changing personalities. And that's what it was. That's how I decided to tell this tale, this beautiful story, by involving a cast of people, a community of dancers and singers and players in getting this. It's a very, very ancient idea to put a story across this way. Now, in a proscenium theater, they can exit and they'll probably go to their dressing room and make fun of each other or something. But it was that you couldn't have a drink of water, you couldn't fix your lipstick. If something went wrong with your sarong, you're sunk. And if you couldn't there's no elastic in this show, there's no Velcro. If your sarong is coming off, that's it. You have to face it like you would if you had to face something. Mm-hmm. So over the years, it's become easier than that. But really, it's like 1 hour, these people play these parts and tell you this story. These The singers are usually visible. There's a singing Dido and a dancing Dido, a singing Aeneas and a dancing Aeneas, a singing chorus and a dancing chorus. So all of them, I would say us, but I'm not in it anymore, all of them are aiming this story at each individual person. And that's the very, very specific, non-abstract aspect of this show. That's what I'm saying. It's not that it has meaning, it's that it's actually enacted. When in the Purcell, there's no scene, there's no fucking scene in the music. It's not allowed. Of course, in the story, there is. They run into a cave. Done. In the Purcell, it's a little bit cleaned up, so I had to fit that in. So one of the ritornella in the piece is when they have sort of ceremonial sex, but it's sex. It's not. I mean, they don't really have sex, but it sure looks like it. You know what I'm saying? And it's formalized like all of it is. But, she actually does die. This character dies. She doesn't, if you actually died in the show, you can only do it once. But it's not as abstract as I'm hearing as other dances are because of the text, the words that are being spoken, the story that's being told. Of course, it's pretend, but it's only successful because it's true.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I said what I said too emphatically. Of course, Dido's a story, and she dies.
Yeah.
I mean, she definitely dies. What I'm saying is interpretations. Walking into the world, things like that. That's something that a critic does. What I was saying is, you say when you're saying these things, which I do when I write, you say them in a more ambiguous and tentative and sort of watery way. You don't lay down the law.
But a lot of dances, not many operas, are like that, where it's like, do they get together or not? Or like, oh, that happened in the wings.
Yes.
It's like, oh, where did she come from? Boy, boy, girl, there's a rivalry. It's like, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. If it's an opera, there's a rivalry.
Yes.
If it's a dance, we don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, Dido and Aeneas, there is actually a story. And in the Aeneid, it's only in 2 lines, but they do go into a cave. And he doesn't say they had sex, but he says something like, there was thunder, there was lightning, and her fate was sealed, And there's no ambiguity about what that means. There's no ambiguity whatsoever. Speaking of what you just said about the ritual enactment, which of course is very Greek too, Attic Greek.
But so is a man playing the role of a woman.
Yes,
a woman's role.
I thought I might let
Skip
you
that? You
let
can
you
skip that?
let you get away with not.
Oh, it's fine. I
answering
don't.
that
Yeah,
tonight.
enough already. Okay, all
But
right.
maybe
That's fine
the
with me.
audience, you guys.
Yeah.
But let me ask you about the costumes.
Okay.
The austerity of those costumes. I mean, you took a court where, in the old days, costumes would, in the old days, what you were wearing was critically important to your social status, which was critically important to your life.
Unlike today.
No, today, but I mean, look at you and me. We're supposed to be the stars of this show. You've got on a wrinkled shirt and a pair of Bermudas.
Just a second. Except I'm fully chic.
My outfit probably cost under $100.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's another conversation.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, all the 3 milieux, the shipyard, the witch's den, and the court, everyone wears the same outfit.
Right.
Well, they're all the same people, of course, but I mean, they don't change clothes.
Right.
And they just hitch their tunic differently. In the shipyard, they pull the tunic so that it looks like pants. Tell me, can you explain what they do what the difference is between the way the witches hitch?
No, I want that to be seen.
All right.
Here's what happens. People wear sarong, full. It's all black. Here's the thing. It was also not without a little nod to the great Martha Graham.
Yes. Okay.
That it's modern dance. It's also, when we first did the show, we don't do it this way anymore because I was in Brussels. We would do this show only for weeks and then do another show. You know, it wasn't in repertory. It was in stagione. So you would do a show and then you prepare the next show. That's what's so expensive, and that's why European opera productions and dance productions can be so detailed and so expensive, because you install the show and you do it, as opposed to the Met where you're doing 7 operas in a week and do this turnover. So this piece was installed at the theater, so everyone in the company dyed his hair black. Everybody had jet black hair for this show. Done. That's what we did, because that's all we were going to perform. So everyone dyed his hair black, and we had, the makeup was pale, black eyes, red lips. That's it. And black fingernails. No, red fingernails. Who has, I don't know. Red fingernails for the chorus. Aeneas has black fingernails. Dido has gold fingernails. And everybody wears a black top and a black sarong. That's it. Oh, and gold earrings. Everybody has gold earrings. Aeneas is the only one who is without a shirt because he's from somewhere else and he's more vulgar. But really, so it was just these facts, these elements, black, white, and red. Here's this whole story being told by this company of players. So it's not dress up. It needn't be dress up. It's full acting. And the singers do the same thing. You have to sound different. It's the same singers who are doing Belinda and the First Woman are also the First and Second Witch. They have to sing differently, which is something that's gone out of style in the opera world. You sound like Kathy Battle, whatever piece you're in. You know, it's like, and now here I am, Kathy Battle, singing Kathy Battle. With, in the sidebar, I'm Cleopatra, or, whatever I am. And Kathy Battle's an easy topic, but it could be a lot of people. It's like, I sing like this. And, so people are missing the fun and the interest of the disguise sequences in all of these crazy operas, in Mozart in particular. It's like, why would I mistake you for her? You sound like you, even though you're dressed weird and it's nighttime. So that kind of thing is a lot gone from opera and from dance. Like Odette and Odile, it's the same person dancing nasty instead of sweet. But, really, I am whatever my name is, Besmirtnova, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this piece is about. It's about acting in a certain way. So Dido and Aeneas, it's not just changing your hair, it's changing your posture and your breathing and your approach and your dynamic. It's thrilling. And everyone in the chorus does that exact same thing too. So that takes a very high level of skill, and it's something that's hard to get. That's all. So it's meant to be, the best musical ever written, well, okay, amongst the best 5 musicals ever written, let's go. The Fantastics, in its original production, is the tired old drama school thing of the black apple crate and the construction paper and the piano. And that's how you make the piece happen. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did, partly because I had a gigantic budget. I decided to make it as simple and direct as possible.
That's what was, when I was thinking about this today.
It's like, here, let me throw more money at this.
It was so ironical.
Yeah, I know.
I thought about it, I wrote, I looked up the costume credit, and it was Christine Van Loan.
Yeah, which means me. That's my secret name. Yeah.
Christine Van Loan was the costume constructor.
She was wardrobe, basically,
Yeah, at the Monet, but I thought to myself, you could have had anything you wanted for that.
I know, I could have had Karl Lagerfeld. I didn't need Karl.
And you
I designed it.
Exactly.
And
you got
Christine executed it. Same with L'Allegro. I designed it.
Exactly. But
That's okay.
Right before Dido, you had, $30,000 worth of silk chiffon gowns for L'Allegro.
Right. That I also designed.
Yes. And here you had $1.380 worth of black muslin tunics.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right.
Sarong. Please say sarong
Sarongs.
instead of tunic.
I'm
okay?
sorry.
It's
Sarongs.
okay.
Well, I don't say sarong the way you do.
I say sarong because I'm a pretentious fag and I overpronounce everything. I say Blagojevich. I'm sorry, I do. I say Löwenbräu. We're fine.
Wait, no.
We're fine.
All right. I've done.
I'm sorry. You've been. I need an FM radio show. The way I pronounce stuff. I'm sorry. That's what I do. I say chaise longue.
You know, it's very hard. My mother always said chaise lounge.
Chase Lounge, yeah.
No,
Chase
my
Lounge.
mother
Oh,
said.
chaise.
My mother
Oh,
said chaise lounge.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And whenever I say, now I say, I think I say chaise long, and I feel like
Go
such,
all the way.
I feel like such a.
Go all the way, chaise longue.
I feel
That's
like
great. Deck chair.
anti-name or something. Deck
Deck chair. Yeah, let's de-Frenchify that.
Uh,
Yeah.
May we have questions from the audience?
May we?
I'm going to bring you a mic.
See, I don't want to ruin everything because everybody's going to come to the show. If you
No,
don't,
I
you're
know,
just
but
hopeless.
I don't think this. I
Okay.
I think there's a lot more in that show than we.
I want to say one thing. I'm exhausted because I'm conducting this show, by the way.
rehearsal all
I used to dance it, now I conduct it. You know, whatever. Next, I don't know what I do next. Next, I'm the sniper, like Abraham Lincoln. I don't know. But what happens today? Yesterday I rehearsed with the soloists in New York. We're soloists in Continuo. Today I rehearsed with the chorus, which is fabulous, and then I worked with the orchestra. And then we added the singers to that, and they're fabulous. So I'm very, very thrilled with the musical forces and how this is going. It's going to be really hot, let me just tell you that. Okay, what's your question?
Okay. You mentioned about your theory about the countries where they don't jump around, and you said
Yeah.
the other ones. Okay, please tell us. Can you explain about your theory? I'm very, very interested.
Okay, a couple things, and this, everybody's going to go crazy with exceptions, but we understand that that's what proves the rule, et cetera. In tropical climes, in sunny climes, people, because it's so hot and days are exactly the same length all the time, the dancing is more close to the ground and more generally undulatory, less frisky, and very often more storytelling involved. Not always, but mostly. Then in colder climates, like, for example, Northern Europe, you're more likely to have to jump around. I said the Basque country because Basque dancing is all jumping. Jota is all jumping.
Germany, but Germany also.
Germany,
they
Scandinavian
hop it
dancing
up.
is all hopping around, and it's fabulous and fun. I like all of it. But, Hungarian dancing, which is on the cusp, is more frisky and jumpy around than, for example, Macedonian dancing is. Although it's very rhythmically interesting, it's small and low. And, this isn't, it's not set in stone, but it's been an observation of mine. Like, the people in the north of a country above the equator think the people in the south of that same country are stupider. And that's true. There are very few exceptions. It's true in Germany, in the
Italy?
United States.
Italy?
Oh,
Oh,
my God, are you
absolutely.
kidding? Yeah. It's like, oh, the southern people, they're the dumb ones. And it's not true. I think, yeah, maybe it's true. I don't even know. Maybe it's warmer, and so it seems lazier, that you have to,
England
it
is the-
stays light longer. I don't understand it. I'm against it, but it seems to be true.
England is the only exception I know in the West to the rule.
Well, it's too
In
small.
England, they say
too
that
small.
people in the North are dumb and poor and brutal. Yeah.
I don't know if it's true in the southern hemisphere, but there's so much water there that it's hard to say. But I don't know, that's been an observation. It's like hot food, spicy food is because of preserving it, and chilies grow there. And it's delicious. So I don't know. This is just my idea. I think of Bournonville jumping around in that gorgeous way versus Hula, which isn't that low on the equator, but it's kind of hot. So, and I don't know. I spend a lot of time in India watching Indian dances, and really the only jumping around Indian dances are
Kathak in the
what
north.
they call tribal dances, also, folk dances, and Kathak is much more, yeah, absolutely. It may be bullshit, but it's kind of interesting to,
We have a question over here.
yeah.
Yeah, I know that music is very important to you, and I'm curious, 20 years ago, when you did this piece in Brussels, did you have early instruments or so-called original instruments and people who were, more skilled in that style of performance, which you will have, I assume, here, based on the people that I've seen in the roster, Robert Mealy, for example.
Right.
How has that changed
He's
your...
fabulous.
Yeah, I know he is.
He's
I-
a nut.
Yeah.
Oh, is this being recorded? Oh, I don't want to say that. He's great.
And so I'm curious, how has that changed your own view of your dance? Since I know that you bring those two together so intimately, having that kind of musical style in the performance, Has that had any influence on how you see the dance now?
Well, 20 years ago, let's see, what year was it 20 years ago?
89.
It was just barely 15 years into the early music movement. So it hadn't yet been desanctified. It was still like the holy grail of early music. It's like no vibrato, sound like a boy. Even though you're a 40-year-old soprano, you should be ashamed of yourself because you don't sound like a boy soprano. And, extra granola, and, it was extra kooky. As I was saying in rehearsal day, it broke my heart when I learned that Dame Emma Kirkby had a microwave oven. I learned that a long time. It's like, oh no, please, don't let that be true. When I first did it, this is very interesting. The first performances in Brussels, I worked with the marvelous, fabulous, good friend of mine, and I hate to use the word mentor, Craig Smith from Emmanuel Music in Boston. He had a gig in Brussels working with Peter Sellers, the director and friend of mine, and with my company. So the very first shows, Dido was sung by Mary Westbrook Gaya, and then by Lorraine Hunt, who was then Lorraine Hunt Lieberson, the great, 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 great mezzo. And so it wasn't played on period instruments, but it's, of course, with an enormous amount of period information, which I suffer from, too. It's something I like very much. We've done the piece also, we've done it all over the place with different conductors and different bands, sometimes on period instruments and sometimes not. It doesn't make that much difference, really. Period players sometimes complain that they run out of bow too soon. It's like, well, just slow down a little bit. And aside from the fact that it takes 7 times longer to tune than it does with modern instruments, otherwise it's really the same thing. The sonorities are different. I've done it with big choruses and small ones. I've done it many, many different ways. And in conducting it myself, I was trained by Craig and by Jane Glover and by several people. And I'm not a conductor professionally, but I'm okay. I spend so much time training conductors to conduct the way I want my work to go that it's like it saves time and some money for me to do it. So I learned this from doing this for so long. The dancers, frankly, talking about teaching someone this piece as we need it for the dance, which isn't really different from the piece itself. And it's very open. Musicians very often think that dancers just need a beat. And a beat is very helpful. But if you sound like shit, that's your problem. It doesn't affect the dancing. The beat actually affects the dancing. So we've done it a whole bunch of different ways where it works or not, and we warm it up and cool it off depending, and it stays open and interesting. But I have to tell you that the dancers, we can do the whole piece with just a pianist, and the dancers can sing every part of the piece and know every word, every rhythm, because we've done it for so long. And the personnel changes, but really we can do, it doesn't sound great, but it doesn't sound bad. And if you're singing which one and which two, you know those parts vocally. You have to, because that's what you're dancing. Aeneas is saying, when, royal fair, etc. And the dancer's doing that. So it's maybe the horrible accusation of Mickey Mousing is true, but Mickey Mouse was pretty fabulous, and somebody made that up. So it doesn't make that much difference. It's something like L'Allegro, where we have a version for soprano. We have a version that includes an alto part, and it's a different arrangement and slightly different. There's an appendix in the score that Handel wrote arrangements for different singers. We can do that. The choreography actually has to change because of the play out, or the words are repeated in a different way, so I have to change the text of the dance. So, no. You.
I saw your L'Allegro, which is
Oh, wait, you need a mic because they're recording it. You can. I don't mind you if you leave. It's fine. I have to leave pretty soon, too. Just don't go away mad. Yeah.
Your L'Allegro was such a masterpiece, and it was so extraordinary in every way. I had to go see it. Every time it comes, I go to see it.
Great.
And when you're talking in the beginning about the importance of music and how that shapes what you do, because you pick a piece of music for its richness, how do you go about finding the music? And do you listen to different types of music all the time in order to find a piece on which you're going to compose your dance?
Mm-hmm. Here's my story. I love music. I think music is so interesting and wonderful. And what's happened over the years, this is an aside, but over the years, I've started attracting a music audience as opposed to exclusively a dance audience. This is sad to say, but a dance audience is approximately this big, and a music audience is approximately this big. You figure that out. You know, I don't mind if the dance people, it's like, oh, anybody could do that. That is so easy. And the music people are like, oh my God, where did that come from? It's just what I thought. You know, that's more interesting to me. I listen to music all the time. In fact, lately I've started not listening to music to sort of teach myself a lesson. I used to have music playing constantly every waking second. Now I spend long stretches of time with no music, partly because in the studio all day, I have fabulous music, because I don't use recorded music in the studio ever. I have a pianist, and sometimes I have music rehearsals, and you know, I mean, you know, with the band, with the string quartet or whatever. And so I'm working with living musicians all the time. I have a music life, and I make up dances. Every class in my school has a living musician playing the piano or singing or drumming or something. It's fantastic. You're 5 years old, you go to class, and there's real music. Hooray, that doesn't happen that much. So I have a big catalog of music in my tiny mind, and I go to concerts a lot. I have friends who are musicians. I have friends who are conductors and composers, and I'm lucky enough to live in New York, and I have a fabulous music life. So there's always something I'm interested in choreographing music. There's also things that I think I'll do, and I end up just throwing out, or something I love to listen to, but I would never imagine dancing to. So it's sort of from every angle, music is bombarding me. The Ohrwurm that lives in my head at all times, you know.
We have
That answer that at all? Okay.
one last question here.
Okay.
I'm glad she asked that one first, because I want to know when you're going to do Allegro again.
Any answer? We just did in Berkeley, California.
Well,
Next
on the
is London.
East Coast.
London's nice. You should go there. It's probably, you know, when is that? Next spring or something? Yeah, April at English National, at the Coliseum in London. I don't know when it'll happen. We do it once or twice a year for the last many years. It's just in different cities all the time. So if you live one place, you don't know that we're doing it, but we know that we're doing it. So I don't know. Check the website, mmdg.org, and you'll know everything.
Joan, is there one last quick
There's
question
time
that you
for
have?
one last question, and that's
Okay.
That's
Anybody?
It. Anybody?
Oh, I thought we went till 7.
No.
Oh, okay, it's fine with me.
Any more
I can
questions?
Uno
talk or
más.
not.
There.
Oh, right here.
There.
Hi, you were saying that you liked both older music and vocal music. Have you ever thought about doing anything to Monteverdi?
Well, I have. Not just thought of, done. Yeah. I did a gorgeous set of madrigals, mostly male madrigals. The piece is, what's the piece called? I Don't Want to Love, Non Voglio Amare. Yeah, I adore and worship Monteverdi. No, but things come and go. It's around. You can look it up. No, we did it for a long time on tour with a group called Artag. And I first did it with a then unknown, brilliant conductor when we premiered it at the Edinburgh Festival years ago, and it was with the now become super famous genius conductor Rinaldo Alessandrini. So, oh no, I'm a big Monteverdi queen. Are you kidding? I love that. Oh my God. I like a lot of stuff. Is that the end? Should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
I think we're going to wrap it up. We'll see you all at the University Theater for the performances. Schubert Theater, excuse me.
Oh my God. Schubert Theater.
I was testing.
Don't be late. There's no intermission. It's not that long.
That's right. We know you have a busy day tomorrow. Mark Morris, Joan
Great.
Acachella.
Thank you.